We like to believe that danger announces itself loudly. We think the moments that change a life arrive with sirens, shattered glass, or a single, catastrophic decision that can't be ignored. Loud danger feels honest because it gives a warning. It arrives with noise that forces you to pay attention, to react. Quiet moments, by comparison, feel harmless. They blend into our routines and familiarity, slipping past our defenses completely unnoticed. But that belief, that sense of comfort, is where the real damage often begins. Not with chaos, but with quiet. Picture a barn at dusk, settling into stillness, dust floating in the last rays of sunlight as the workday slows to an end. Nothing about the scene suggests danger, only the familiar rhythm of habit and the bone-deep exhaustion after a long day. There are no raised voices, no sudden movements, no sense that anything is about to change. And then a single sentence is spoken quietly, without anger or drama. Your hands. That was wrong. The words are calm, measured, and certain. They carry no threat, yet they leave no space for denial. They aren't shouted. They aren't emotional or vague. They just draw a line that can't be blurred. In that moment, nothing explodes. No one storms out, and no big confrontation unfolds. And yet, something collapses silently just beneath the surface. There are no police lights, no witnesses gathering, no public accusation to respond to. There is only the realization that a boundary has been crossed. Only the quiet, dawning understanding that everything built before this moment is now unstable. This isn't a story about a villain hiding in the shadows. It's about a man respected in daylight, trusted openly by his entire community. See, ranching communities run on reputation long before they run on rules. Trust replaces paperwork, and memory replaces documentation. A handshake can secure loans, land leases, and labor, all without a single signature. In that world, reputation is currency. And Evan Hale stood right at the center of that system. He was a third-generation landowner whose name carried weight before he even spoke. Hundreds of cattle grazed on land tied to his family's long history. Seasonal workers depended on his decisions just to survive each year. Banks extended him credit easily because, well, the Hales had always paid. History spoke louder than caution. He sponsored local rodeos and donated to the schools. His name was printed on banners and programs. He was described as solid by men who valued certainty and control above all else. That admiration became his armor, and that was where the danger lived. Because systems built on reputation don't fail suddenly. They decay quietly, hidden behind a mask of familiarity and assumption. Evan had inherited the ranch during unstable economic times. Land prices were rising while profits were shrinking just beneath the surface. On paper, the ranch looked as strong as ever. In reality, pressure was pressing in from every side. He chose expansion instead of restraint. More land, he thought, promised more security. More cattle promised more profit. And more debt disguised itself as ambition. As long as nothing went wrong, the whole structure would hold. But structures built on assumption always crack. Slowly, almost invisibly, oversight loosened. Boundaries only existed because they had never really been tested. Authority became routine. Accountability faded into habit. In small communities, speaking up carries a real cost. Jobs can disappear. Housing becomes uncertain. Your sense of belonging is threatened. So silence starts to feel safer than telling the truth. And silence protected Evan. It always had. His success fed his confidence. Workers avoided confrontation. Banks trusted him without question. His neighbors would defend him before anyone even asked. That reliability reduced scrutiny. Reduced scrutiny invited risk, and that risk slowly erased all the limits. His weakness wasn't financial, not at first. It was moral. And moral failures move quietly. They hide behind routine and power. The day everything shifts looks completely ordinary. Work ends just like it always does. No one expects any consequences. Boundary is crossed. Consent is ignored. Silence is assumed. But this time, silence doesn't come. The words arrive again, just as calmly. Your hands. That was wrong. They can't be taken back. Once spoken, they change the shape of everything. At first, Evan dismisses the moment. Then he tries to justify it. Then he tries to outrun it. But none of it works. Something fundamental has shifted. The silence that once protected him now starts to press inward. The worker leaves quietly. There's no confrontation, no public accusation, just absence. And in a small, tight-knit system, absence is loud. Questions begin to surface. Not accusations, not at first. Just concern, then recognition, then patterns. Suddenly, banks are asking for documentation they never required before. Insurers start reassessing their risk. A land lease renewal stalls without any explanation. Nothing feels like a punishment. It just feels like a recalculation. Trust doesn't vanish instantly. It erodes. And once that erosion begins, it accelerates. Evan responds the way many people do when their control starts to slip. He doubles down. Lawyers are consulted. Public appearances increase. Donations get larger. He frames himself as misunderstood, as being targeted as a victim of rumor. But systems don't respond to narratives. They respond to incentives. And suddenly, he has become expensive to trust. Credit tightens, labor costs rise, contracts suddenly gain new clauses that never existed before. Nothing convicts him, but nothing clears him either. That uncertainty becomes the consequence. Because ambiguity is deadly to businesses built on reputation. Across all kinds of industries, this same cycle repeats. Informal power replaces real oversight. Success shields bad behavior. Then a boundary is crossed. The silence breaks. And the systems react faster than any individual can. Organizations that rely on character instead of structure are basically assuming perfection. And when that assumption fails, the consequences compound. Reputation-based systems don't prevent harm. They just delay its exposure. Evan loses the ranch, not in a courtroom. He loses it on paper, through restructuring, through asset sales. Through a series of quiet exits, years later, he works just a fraction of the land he once controlled. No speeches follow his downfall. No explanations are ever offered. Only distance remains. And that distance changes everything. Because what truly reshaped him wasn't punishment, it was understanding. The understanding that power without boundaries isn't strength, it's a countdown. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that looks beneath the surface of how our world really works. Stay safe out there.